So how do you think about your investment portfolio? Is it safely tucked away in a bank? Do you consider it in the safe pair of hands of an investment advisor? Or would you consider putting all those savings into an investment app on your phone? We are joined by Alexis Nussbaum, who reviews investment applications here on YouTube, to find out more.
I have a dream, that's all I need. I'll make it happen with some work and belief.
Now is the time. We talked so much about when we want to retire, about how much money we need. We talked about the different investment vehicles that we can put our money into, and even looked at how to select exchange-traded funds for our retirement. Now, the one thing we haven't done is actually invest. And that's what we want to do today. Technology has quite advanced over the last 10 years. And you still have limited availability, or limited selection, I should say, when it comes to, say, lifetime ISAs. There are only a limited number of providers. And equally, usually your employer selects the corporate pension provider, so you don't have a free choice there either. I personally use Hargreaves Lansdown for both of those accounts. I think they have great customer service. I think they are reasonably priced. And if you follow the tips and tricks that we talked about, and when you predominantly invest in ETFs, actually they are quite cheap as well. There is, however, one area where you have complete freedom, and that is investing into ISAs, or individual savings accounts. Plenty of apps already support those investments already, and you can reap the tax benefits from it. To give you a better idea of what to look for, today we are joined by fellow YouTuber Alexis Nussbaum, and on his channel he reviews investment applications in Europe and in the UK. Now, I've said this before, neither him or I are investment advisors. Anything here is purely for educational purposes. But without further ado, welcome Alexis, and great to have you here on the channel.
Hey, hi Kai, and welcome, and I mean not welcome, but thank you for having me on your channel.
Why don't you tell us maybe a little bit about your channel and what got you started with it?
Sure, yeah, well, my channel is everything about personal finance, investment, and passive income pretty much. So what I do is that I help people to manage their money in a maybe a better way. To start investing, I give advice on how to start investing, and also I speak a lot about passive income and how you can actually use passive income in your life. So I think it's an interesting topic, and that's what I do on my channel.
Excellent. Yes, it's surely a topic that's more and more popular these days as well. So for everyone who is interested in those topics, link is in the description box below. Join Alexis' channel as well and see what we can learn from there. But of course, today in this episode and here on the channel, we are talking specifically about pension investments and how to invest maybe into individual savings accounts. And with that, we were thinking about investment apps, and that's clearly one of your specialties. So what would you say, Alexis, are the things that you would typically look for when you review an investment app?
Well, there are four things that I mainly look for, four topics very much. So the first one would be fees. Is the investment app that you are planning to use making you pay fees on everything? Because it happens with a lot of apps, and there are some ways to actually avoid it. One fee that people have to pay sometimes are transaction fees. So every single time you buy something, you buy a stock or a share, or every single time you sell something, you sometimes have to pay a fee on it, and you don't want that to happen to you. There are also sometimes the inactivity fees, which are not great if you aim for long-term investments. If you want to put your money into an account and make it grow over a long period of time, you don't want to pay a certain amount every single time you're not using the app for, let's say, a month. And also there are other things like the currency conversion fees that are, for example, let's say you have euros on your bank account and then you want to invest into the American stock market, so you have to convert euros to USD. And sometimes some apps will actually make you pay a certain amount to convert this amount of money to another currency, and you don't want this either. And lastly, for the fees, I would say that the withdrawal fee is something that you should absolutely look for before investing in an app, because you don't want the app to tell you just at the last moment when you want to start and take your money for yourself that you are not able to withdraw your money because you don't check every single boxes that they are putting you in front of. So this will be everything about fees. Now I would say a second thing would be, is the app actually available in your country? And you should absolutely look that up before you even start looking at investment apps, because that actually happened to me. When I wanted to start investing at first, I was looking a lot at M1 Finance, because I think it's a great app for American especially, that is very complete and you have a lot of options on it. And I was so happy to maybe use it, and at the end of the day it was just not available for me.
What else are you looking at?
The regulations, of course, because when you use an app, you want it to be regulated, but with an organization that is taking care of that. So for the UK, I believe it's called the FCA, so it's the Financial Conduct Authority. That is a state agency that is pretty much regulating every single investment apps, at least the real ones. You don't want to go into a scammy, strange investment app. So if the FCA is regulating an app, it means that you can actually get a refund if you lose money because the investment app goes out of business or something else. So you should absolutely look for the FCA regulation when you go into an app. And the last thing I would say to look for in an investment app is that the user-friendly, the interface is user-friendly, which means that if you're a beginner, especially beginners, you don't want to go into an app that gives you all sorts of information that you don't understand, and then get confused over what to do with your money and maybe lose some things over some dumb moves that you're making. So user-friendly interface is also, in my opinion, really interesting. And that's the 4 points that I look for.
Right. That's really helpful. And if you think of investment for your pensions, and in a lot of things that we do, those predominantly mean investing in exchange-traded funds and in indices. Is there anything else you would specifically look for in an app when it comes to pension investment, or would you look at those 4 things?
Well, I would look for those 4 things, of course, but especially the fees, because with a pension investment, you are probably getting a certain amount of money at a consistent rate. So when you invest every single month or every single time you get paid a pension, you don't want to actually have to pay fees every single time, because over time it will be a great amount. So definitely transaction fees and inactivity fees, if you're in for long-term investment, would be things to really look for. And then I would say an app that gives you great control over your investments. You don't want it to be locked into place. And actually, if you don't know, a lot of investment apps lock the withdrawal fees, lock the withdrawal ability on your investment. And when you invest into pensions, you want to be able to have a clear control over your investment, know everything that's going on, and know how you can withdraw your money. And all these informations are really important if you invest into those kinds of things.
Right. Those are great pointers, Alexis. So I know you've recently reviewed a few apps in the UK, and based on that, what's your conclusion? Is there an app that stands out for you, something that fulfills those criteria and that we can use with good faith?
Well, yeah, there are a few apps actually that are really interesting, and I believe that are in just always better than other apps. There are a few of them. So the one that I use actually is called Trading 212. It's available in the UK, and I love this app for the simple reason that it's commission free. There are no fees on. There are fees, but there are 2 types of account on the app. So an invest account, which is 100% free, which is the one that I use, and also one that is for CFD, so more for trading and short-term investments. So when you use the CFD, you have taxes and you have to pay fees on, I believe it's every single trade that you make. But if you use the invest one, you don't have to pay anything. So I would say Trading 212 is great for that. It's available in the UK, as I just said. And for the regulations, as I just said before, the FCA is regulating it. And the interface is pretty cool.
It's really hard to predict the future. In the intro, I said probably 10 years ago, neither of us would have sat here and thought about our pension investment doing it with an investment app on our phone. So we've come quite a long way. But if you had to speculate, if you look at the development and look what's straight ahead, where does it take us? What's the developments? What's the future of investment apps?
Well, in the future, there are a few things that I would like to see in investment apps that some already have and that others don't. And I believe that these are important topics that we need to speak about when it's about investment apps. The first one would be transparency, because lately, at least in the last maybe 5 years, there has been so many new investment apps that came out, and some of them, as I just said before, can look a little bit sketchy at first. And with the regulation that we spoke about a little bit before, you actually have to, the app actually have to give a great transparency when it comes to what it does with your money, because you don't want to invest in an app that is using your money to do other things with it that may lose this money and that will make you at the end lose money on it. So I would love to see more transparency. I know that some apps already have some pretty great feature about this, but not all of them. And I think about some that are mostly like for really beginners, like free trade, for example, is not that transparent when it comes to investments and what they do and how they do it especially. So that's an important point for me. Then I'd like to see more apps that are following Robinhood. Actually, Robinhood started in 2013 to offer the commission-free accounts. And then since then, a lot of other apps actually opened their own free accounts, which I believe is great because it's opening so many doors to so many people. Investing is starting to get mainstream pretty much. A lot more investors are coming each year because of those free accounts. And I believe that all investment apps should have at least one account that's free and maybe another one where they will make money for themselves, because if they don't make money, then they will not be investment apps. And the last thing is securities, because I don't know if you heard a little bit about this, but Robinhood had some very ugly glitches that happened in, I think it was last year, end of last year, where people were able to trade with infinite leverage. And it was a glitch. It's not supposed to be on the app, but there have been people who lost $100,000 of dollars and in debt for the rest of their life pretty much. And I don't want that to happen to other people. So I want investment apps to be able to actually have a secure way of investing and not as Robinhood did in the past. But I believe they are getting better right now. But yeah, so that's the more points I would see in the future that I'd like to see in investment apps.
Alexis, thank you so much for joining us today. And again, everyone who likes to know a little bit more about those modern investment apps or want to know a little bit more about investment, check out his channel. It's down in the description box below. And of course, he has reviewed the UK apps quite recently, I think last Saturday. So I will link that video in the description box below as well.
Well, thank you, Kai, for having me on your channel. And yeah, if the audience is interested by my topic of my channel, then just come and say hi.
I'm getting quite emotional here. We are already 80% through this pilot pension course, and it's been a blast to create this content for you. So first of all, thank you. Thank you so much for your continued support here in the series as well as overall on the channel. Now, second, what's left is the review. It's arguably the most important part of the T-DOTA model. If you don't know what T-DOTA means, gotta go back to episode 1, you have to watch that. But essentially what we look at in that episode is how on an annual basis you can spend a few minutes just to look at your pension portfolio and determine whether you are still on track. So I look forward to seeing you over there and of course in one of the next videos here on this channel.